Do you want to learn effective ways to build relationships, generate sales, and grow your business from successful entrepreneurs, startups, and CEOs without listening to a long interview? If so, you've come to the right place. Gresham Harkless values your time and is ready to share with you precisely the information you're in search of. This is the I Am CEO podcast.
Hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Danielle Roberts of Boomer Benefits. Danielle, it's awesome to have you on the show.
I'm so excited to be here. My pleasure. Thank you.
No problem. Super excited to have you on. And what I want to do is just read a little bit more about Danielle so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Danielle is a founding partner of Boomer Benefits, a national top producing agency that specializes in Medicare-related insurance products across 47 states. Her team helps baby boomers navigate Medicare and choose suitable supplemental coverage. She's a member of the Forbes Finance Council, where she writes about Medicare, retirement, and personal finance, and is also a past president of the Fort Worth chapter of the National Association of Health Underwriters. Her agency was recently named the 2019 Health Insurance Advisory Firm of the Year by Finance Monthly. Congratulations. And are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I am. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So the first question I had was to hear a little bit more about what I call your CEO story and what led you to start your business.
Yeah. So I worked in staffing right after I graduated from college. I had a journalism and English degree and quickly found out that you can definitely not live on that and also pay back student loans. So journalism is a lofty, ideal career and a lovely thing, but you can't make a lot of money at it. And so I went into business. I got a job with a staffing firm and I worked for a really amazing entrepreneur. His name is Steve Smith. He runs Cornerstone Staffing here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I started with his company when he had 5 employees, and now they have like 100 employees, and there's offices all over the Metroplex, and really just learned so much while working in that industry. But after about 10 years or so, I had some burnout working as a district operations manager in staffing. Something you may know is that people are a very unreliable product. So you might put them on a job and they don't show up, and then the client is mad, and you can do that for so long. So I knew I had always wanted to run a business. I enjoy sales and was sort of an entrepreneurial kid. Along with my brother, we used to knock on doors and wash cars, and we sold earthworms to fishermen. If there was a way to make a buck, we did it when we were kids. So a friend of mine had an interview, a group interview with an insurance firm. And she asked me if I wanted to go along because I had mentioned to her that I was interested in owning a business. And I thought, insurance, it's pretty non-glamorous, but sure, I'll go and just see what it's all about. And then I went to the presentation and totally fell in love with the idea. I thought it sounded like a great business where you can honestly provide help to people who truly need it. And at the same time, you can earn a good living and you don't have to worry about your product sitting on the shelves or spoiling. It's a great business in terms of being able to start it on the side and not have to worry about some of the investment things. There's not a lot of startup costs. So I got my license, which isn't that hard to do in any state. You can go and get an insurance license. You can usually take a 3-day course and then take an exam afterward. And the course is quite good to prepare you. I started my insurance agency by bootstrapping it. I literally drove out to business parks and knocked on their front door and asked them if I could quote their group health insurance and left my business card. I targeted small businesses so that, they would be hopefully willing to give me a chance. And sure enough, they did. They would call me back when their group health came around, and I started writing that type of business. And that eventually evolved into selling individual health policies because sometimes the business owners would decide they couldn't afford to offer group health insurance, but they needed to set it up for their own family. And then what happened from there is people were asking all the time after I would set them up, hey, do you know anything about Medicare? Because my dad is turning 65 or my mom is turning 65, and that stuff is ridiculous. It's so hard to figure out. So we went and learned how to do that. We found quickly that Medicare is a terribly big beast with 4 parts and 10 supplement products and way too many choices. One of those things that you learn about as an entrepreneur is giving someone too many choices is not always a good thing. And definitely Medicare does that to the American public. So we learned how to educate people on Medicare, and slowly over time, we phased out the whole group side of our business. And now we just work with individuals who are turning 65 and need help with their Medicare. we do education, and we teach them all the things about what the government provides. And that's how we make our living, is to sell the supplemental products to them on the back end.
Nice. I absolutely love that. I am too an English major as well. And I too saw
Yay!
the journalism industry and where that's going. and I decided to, do digital marketing websites. So go figure. But the good thing is
Smart.
that you need communication everywhere. And as you've definitely shown that, been able to grow your insurance practice, like communication is something that you can use in every single industry. And it kind of sounds like you've been able to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can apply it to pretty much any career. So if you go to college, kids, and you're not sure what to do and you can't really find a major that excites you, a good old liberal arts communications degree is definitely something you can apply anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact too, because I think sometimes I always say the true measure of a genius is being able to take something that's complex and be able to kind of communicate it well to people that may not understand or maybe have so many other things going on. It kind of sounds like you're doing that for, Medicare and those type of industries as well.
Yeah, you break it down into words that they can understand, right? So, insurance is full of language like deductibles and co-pays and co-insurance, and a lot of people don't know what those things mean. So if you want to sell something that's really just an educational sale where people need it anyway, but you're explaining the product to them so that they can, just not feel so overwhelmed. Lots of great businesses, that's what their business is about, is explaining something that people don't understand and then solving that problem for them. And so that's worked out very well for us.
Nice. That's great to hear. And I know you touched on, some of the products and services that you guys have.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything more to add about that, or what you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique, or what I call your secret sauce?
Sure. So in this industry, if you're working with the Medicare products, there's your traditional Medicare supplement, which is just a policy that pays after Medicare to take care of some of the things that you would normally have to pay, like deductibles and coinsurance and copays. And then there are Medicare Advantage products, which are private insurance. So people can opt not to get their benefits through the federal government and instead to get those Medicare benefits from a private insurance company with a network. And that sort of rolls the whole product into one thing where you can get your drugs using the same ID card as you can go to the doctor. And that's very familiar to people. And then, of course, there's drug plans, which are super confusing in Medicare, and we can sell those as well. And then we sell a little bit of related products like dental insurance, because Medicare doesn't cover dental, vision, and hearing. I don't know why they figured that when they created a healthcare system that people 65 and older suddenly wouldn't need dental, vision, or hearing products. They need it more than anyone else. But we sell some of those products and occasionally a little bit of life insurance too. The big thing that's been the secret sauce for us, and of course, everyone who is a really successful entrepreneur, I think you know that the secret sauce isn't really the secret sauce. In a lot of businesses, it's the same thing. You might be putting forth a hard effort or keep going or persistence. But for us, it's been amazing client service. So anybody who enrolls with a Medicare insurance policy, that is not the end of it. They will have claims get denied because the doctor miscoded the bill. They will enroll in a plan without checking to see that it covers one of their medications, and then they're calling you to see, are you an agent that can help them switch to another product that does cover that. Sometimes they're standing at the pharmacy at 4 o'clock on a Friday and they really desperately need their medication over the weekend, and the Part D company refuses to fill it. And these are all things that will literally make your hair fall out. It's so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it's funny, you hear across different industries, like how people don't value customer service or they take it for granted. But to do, and it sounds so small, but it makes such a big impact to be able to get back to the person when they call, or pick up the phone when they call, and be able to get them the right information or to the right people, because a lot of times people just are looking for peace of mind, and being able to pick up the phone and know a number and a person that they can talk to helps out tremendous. So I love that secret sauce. I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. And this might be an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but it's something that makes you more effective and efficient.
Okay, so I am a complete podcast junkie, and it has revolutionized everything I've ever done in my business. In 2016, I was watching a training video on Lead Pages, which is a software that you can use to create landing pages for your website. And they had an interview with a lady named Amy Porterfield. If you may know of her, she runs a podcast called Online Marketing Made Easy. And in that podcast, she talked about Facebook ads and a little bit of marketing. And I was just she was so helpful with the information that I immediately went, and it was the first podcast I'd ever had. I had to actually get on my phone and figure out how to download this app called Podcruncher. And the very first month, I ran up this huge data bill on my phone because I didn't know that you could just download the podcast. Instead, I was streaming them live, which very much upset my brother when the bill came in. And then, of course, I learned how to work with all these. But I have followed her podcast, and that has led me to so many other amazing podcasts. And so one of my daily habits is when I get up in the morning and I'm doing my hair and I'm putting my makeup on, I'm listening to a podcast. Usually can knock one out right doing that. And then I get in my car, I've got about almost a 30-minute commute, and I can listen to another one.
Absolutely. And thank you, Amy, for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes. Well, no, that makes perfect sense. And definitely, because a lot of times people listen to podcasts, they're on the go, they're doing something anyway. So you can just, pop on headphones and then listen to whatever your guilty pleasure might be or any kind of business insight might be. So now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. And this is a word of wisdom or piece of advice. Or if you could hop into a time machine, what would you tell your younger business self? Mm-hmm.
My first thing that I would tell my younger business self is to feel more confident and not rush out and partner with people that you don't know their work ethic, which is a mistake that I made early on. I think a lot of new business people, it feels so much better if you had another new business person and you've got two brains. But unless you know that person very well, that can really backfire on you because I have a work ethic that was completely different than the people that I originally partnered with. And also, they were of the mindset that we take home everything we bring in, and you can never grow your business if you're not willing to invest in your marketing. And my second piece of advice is run your own race. Don't get into that comparison mindset. I have new agents in the business that find me on LinkedIn and send me messages all the time. And sometimes they'll say, like, could I pick your brain for a minute? They'll ask a question. But a lot of times what I hear them say is, how can I ever succeed when there's people out there like your business and a couple of other call centers that are friends of mine actually in the same industry, but also my competitors. And they're so overwhelmed at the fact that we write 1,000 applications a month that they think that they could never get a piece of this pie. And you really can't go into it with that because you're comparing yourself in this moment to a moment 15 years down the road with that business. And you absolutely can carve out a piece of that niche for yourself. You can find an area where you can stand out or a way that you can stand out, or you can just put good old elbow grease into it like we did. When I built that business, there were tons of people way ahead of me. There were agents that had been in business for 20 years that I knew through the association. And I remember thinking the same thing, like, I'll never get there. And of course we did, and we've been very successful at it, but we just started where we were.
Absolutely. No, I definitely would echo that. And a lot of times when you are, staying true to yourself, no one can beat you at your own race, because if you are staying true and being authentic to yourself, then it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing because they can't do what you do like you do. So
that's right. Nobody else can be you. So you got to remember that.
Absolutely. So now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Danielle, what does being a CEO mean to you?
I think for me, it has really, in the end, it's resulted in being an example to others of what is possible. So I've noticed that as I have worked to grow this business and then put in the time and money to build the service team and seen the client's reaction to that, we've taken that same approach and then addressed it with our employees. And we want for them to come to work every day and love their job. We want them to have adequate time off to spend with their families. We just increased their time off to 3 weeks as standard vacation here. We are at the end of every year, we look at our profits and we invest back into our employees. We often do pay raises or increase the benefits. And a lot of that is I want to be an example to them the same way that Steve was an example to me in my former career. I want them to see what is possible and what you could do if you started with nothing and then went and applied that. And I've told them all the story about sitting in my car in 2005 and getting ready to go into the office and dreading the phones and having to pound the streets that day. And I remember thinking, I can't wait until I have $500 a month coming in this business. And then I'm going to be like the real deal, right? Like then I will be legitimate.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great reminder and right in alignment with what you said with your CEO nugget about making sure to run your own race, remind yourself, where you are and who you are and just own that day and own that moment. So I truly appreciate your time, Danielle. What I want to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, and just see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and our listeners know, and then how best they can get a hold of you.
Okay, awesome. I also read a book recently called Atomic Habits, and it was really a good book. I forget James something or other, but you could find that online. And that was really good at analyzing your day and putting in building habits out of repetition. It was a really interesting book, and I've been able to apply some things there that I think have made me more productive. So highly recommend that book if you have a chance to give it. And then we're super easy to find anywhere you go. It's Boomer Benefits. So boomerbenefits.com is our website. I also have a personal brand website, which is daniellekroberts.com. So if you want to read more about the entrepreneurial journey, you can check that out. And on any social media, you can find Boomer Benefits. And on LinkedIn, you can find me at Danielle Kunkle, which is my maiden name. So feel free to connect, and I'm always happy to answer questions for other up-and-coming entrepreneurs.
Awesome. We'll make sure to have those links in the show notes as well so that anybody can follow up with you. But truly appreciate you, Danielle. You're rocking and rolling, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for listening to the I Am CEO podcast powered by Blue 16 Media. Tune in next time and visit us at IAM292.co. I Am CEO is not just a phrase, it's a community. Be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating. Grab CEO gear at www.ceogear.co. This has been the I Am CEO podcast with Gresham Harkless. Thank you for listening.